Hello viewer, welcome back to 54A. I'm going to try a bit more pyrography today. Hopefully the camera won't let me down this time. I've got still a great lump of maple. So I'm going to mark it at 6.5 inches, so I'll make a square, and then I'm going to slice it on the bandsaw down the middle, so I've got two blanks. Of course, I just want to make a platter, don't want a dish or anything. And then I'm going to attempt a bit of pyrography on it. You've all seen people cut stuff on the bandsaw before, so I won't bore you with that. I'll just do a quick platter on the lathe. I'll do a bit of videoing of that, but the main thing is the pyrography for this one. But I'll get on with it and see what happens. Right, so I've got the blank roughly cut. I just chopped the corners off on the bandsaw. Couldn't be bothered to get the circle cutting jig out just for this. So I've marked off a centre circle where I'm going to put it onto a glue chuck. I don't want to use a screw chuck on this because I don't want a great hole through the middle when I haven't got much to take off anyway. So I've marked that circle, which will give me a more or less central point onto the glue chuck. Just wait for the glue gun to heat up and then I'll get it on there. Right, I'm just going to round this off now. I'm just going to use a round nose scraper for this, nicely freshly sharpened. Round it off, put my usual mortise in the end. I can get it off the glue chuck, turn it round. Right, I've roughly faced it off so it's not wobbling all over the place, and I've just cut the little mortise in there for my little logo disc. Now this logo disc, I've had to do that by hand with a pyrography pen because my laser engraver's decided to die, which I'm not very pleased about. Apparently they are going to send me a spare circuit board. It'll be quite a while, so I've just knocked up a few of these by hand. So if you're thinking of getting one of those, just think twice and make sure you can get the spares for it. Anyway, get that glued in there, then I'll cut my mortise out, bit of shape on it as usual, and then get it off the glue chuck and turn it round. Right, there we go, got it off the glue chuck. There's some glue residue on here, so I'm just going to take off now and then start shaping this. Okay, I've got it to where I want it now. I've left it quite thick, and that's for two reasons. One is, if I mess the pyrography up, I can put it back on the lathe, scrape it off. I've got plenty of thickness to do it and then have another go. The other reason, if I don't mess it up and I'm happy with it, in a few months time I might get bored looking at it, so I can do the same again, scrape it off, put another picture on. So that's the idea anyway. I'm just going to sand this now. I'm not going to put any sealant or polish on it because I've got to burn it, so I'll just sand it down to 600. Right, that's the picture that I want to put on this little platter. Now, I'm not expecting, and I don't want you to expect it to look anything as good as that. What I'm going for is the basic shape, the basic outline, and I'll try a bit of shading and what have you, which I haven't really had a lot of practice at. So I'm going to get my Sorrel paper. There you go, that's the stuff. Get it underneath here, and I'm just going to trace an outline first, just a basic outline, one or two of the wing feathers showing through with a bit of luck, and see where we go from there. So wish me luck. And just keep looking. There you can see I've just made a start on it. Flip it back again with the masking tape. You know it's just going to fall back in exactly the same place. Now I'll just carry on. You don't have to press very hard. I've covered the wing with a masking tape there, but you can still press over it. Now the picture actually disappears just on the tips of the wings here, so I just have to draw them on myself. It's only taking them to a point, so shouldn't be anything too difficult. And there you go, just carry on doing that, have a look. It's coming on quite well already, I think you'll agree. So I'll see you in a bit. Right, I've got most of the outlines done now, there, as you can see. I haven't bothered with any detail, these are just basic outlines of the bird itself and the feathers, the claws. I haven't put this cloud line in yet, and the rest of it is like shading and very fine lines which I'm not going to bother tracing in just yet. I'm just going to try now and burn the outline. I'm not going to undo this tape, I'm just going to fold it back because I can flip it back over whenever I want to add anything to the picture itself. So I shall start on the burning. I'll just switch the machine on, just give it a few seconds to warm up and make a start on the outline. That's it. Right, I've got quite a fine wire tip in this. I don't want anything too thick. I can always put a thicker one in later and go over it if I want to. But we'll make a little start and see how we get on. Got to make sure I get myself nice and comfortable. And here we go. One thing, once you get a comfortable position with your pen, it's easier to turn the work round than to try and change the position that you've got your pen in your hand with. The best thing to do, get yourself a piece of wood of the same material. That makes sure you've got your heat right. Now if you start off going like that, you're going to get a blob. So you have to start off stroking it, so you get a line. There it goes. You don't want these blobs everywhere, you want to keep it as thin as well, as simple as possible without any great blobs in the middle of a line. So I just have this little piece of scrap, and then if I change my tip, I might change the heat slightly. I can just practice on this bit of scrap first, make sure I'm more or less at the right temperature and I've got the right wire in. I say this is quite a thin wire, so I'm going relatively slow, just to get a good outline. I think I can have just a bit more heat on that. Turn that up to about 550 now. So as your confidence grows, you can use a bit more heat and go a little bit faster. At the moment I'm not very confident. So don't take my word as law. I'm just a beginner at this. But I'm thoroughly enjoying it, I must say. And as with any wood, this is lovely, this maple, but as with any wood, you're going to get, in the grain will be maybe a little bit softer, so unexpectedly it's going to burn a bit heavier, so you've got to be sort of prepared for that to happen. That's why it's best to always keep it on the move when you're starting. You've just got to make sure that you're comfortable. I'm going to lift this up a little bit now to get this claw done. Vicious looking talons. I wouldn't want to get grabbed by them. A little bit more heat now. I'm getting more used to it. trying to get it so you can see what I'm doing. It's a bit awkward when it's so close up, but still, I'm doing my best for you. Now it does help to have a little bit of sandpaper hand. This is only 400 grit, and every now and again just scrape the tip very lightly, just gets rid of any residue there might be on the end of the tip, on the end of the wire, keeps things nice and clean, and you get a better line at the end of it. There we go. That's coming on quite nicely and in a relatively short space of time. So now you get the general idea. I shall carry on without the camera running, do a bit of these wings, etc. Now I'll come back to you a bit later. Right, the outline's coming on a treat now. I found rather than a geometric shape to practice on, which is going to be like perfect, if something's a bit out, it sticks out like a sore thumb. If one or two of these feathers are a bit out, it doesn't really matter. The bird's in flight, there's bound to be wind underneath the feathers, etc. So it doesn't matter so much. So I find it easier to practice on wildlife pictures. Having said that, it's only about my third or fourth thing I've ever done. I say mistakes are easier to cover up. Well, I think so anyway. So I'll just get on with these outlines of the rest of the feathers now. A little bit down there on that wing. That's another layer done. I'll move on to the next line and then the next line and then fill this bit in down here. And we'll have the basics done. Now, don't forget, I'm pure beginner at this. Don't take my word as law. I'm probably doing it all wrong. This is just how I like doing it, and I'm comfortable doing it this way. I might be using the wrong wire, the wrong heat setting, but it seems to be coming out okay. So I guess at the end of the day, it's what you're comfortable with. So I shall carry on now and get back to you in a bit. Right, I've just got this small area here now and his eye to do, and if there's any, whether you're tracing with ordinary tracing paper or this Sorrel paper, you're bound to get little bits left over. There's little bits of blue, so you get yourself an eraser, as they say. We used to call them rubbers, but apparently there's another thing that are called rubbers nowadays. So just get yourself an eraser, just go over what you've burnt, and any outline will disappear really easily. And it only takes a minute. Get rid of any blue I've got on here. Gone, except for that bit which I haven't done yet, which I shall do right now. Well, that's it so far. That's the basic outline work done. I'm pretty pleased with it as it is, you know, you can tell what it is, etc. But now's the time to start trying to make these feathers look more like feathers, which is why you keep your picture taped to your work, because I can just drop it over again now. And the first things I want to do is these tail feathers. They've got definite lines and some shading. There's definite V lines, so I'll get those in first because they're the main burning, and then I'll change the tip over and try and get a bit of shading done. So I'm going to draw these lines in first and then burn those. I've changed the tips over now. There's a little, as you can see, it's like an iron shape. It's a shading tip, so you need a bit more heat on it. It's a lot thicker, and I'm just using it to shade these areas around the tail, just rubbing very lightly and softening the edges of the lines that I've already put on. You get a nice brown colour rather than a burnt black, unless you leave it on too long, of course. I should eventually do that on quite a lot of the wings, as you can see, quite dark. Oh, let's get that in there. That's it. Quite dark at the edges, and sort of one side of the feathers a bit dark. I'll try one and see what it looks like. And the quicker you go, the lighter it is. You just get a very fine bit of shading. That's all you need to do, really. And you get that effect, as you can see that. Now that on all the feathers should look quite effective, hopefully. And then I'll change the tip again and put some very, very fine lines in. Right, so I've got lots of shading to do now. I'll carry on down this tail for now. It's a waste of time going up there. When you start a bit, it's best to finish a bit. Going to leave it very light in the middle, darker at the edges, so just sort of scoop it in, go over it till you're happy with it. That into the bit I shaded earlier, just to soften it up. That just leaves a fine pale band down the middle of the feather. So, lots to do. I'll carry on with the rest of them. It's funny how you learn so quickly as you go along. I started off just doing quite even shading here. When I got to here, I decided to start from the edge of the feather and work towards the centre. So it's very slightly darker on the edge of the feather, tapering up to more or less nothing the further you go into the feather, and you get much more of a 3D effect that way. So I shall have to go over these again somehow, but those top half a dozen, I think they've transformed. They really look nice. Yeah, I think you can pick that up okay anyway. So it's coming on nicely, but time for my dinner, I think. So I shall pick this up again later on. Bye for now. Oh well, camera problems yet again, so I'm afraid you've missed the last few minutes. But all I was doing was basically shading in and adding a bit of detail. and I've took it over to the lathe. I'll give it a coat of sanding sealant and a coat of beeswax, just a hard beeswax stick, and this is the final platter, and I think that's come out really well. There's a big grin on my face, believe me. I'm so pleased with that. So sorry about the last few minutes, but you got the idea, I think, with the rest of it that I've managed to video. And that's it, folks. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I really enjoyed doing this. It's a pleasure, and if you do like it, please give us a thumbs up, comment. I always try and answer your comments, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you down the road for the next one after I've thrown my camera away and sorted out another one. So bye for now, everybody. Cheers.